They say your children will take care of you in your old age. That when you're vulnerable, when your body starts failing, they'll be there to protect you. That's what we're promised. That's the deal. But I woke up 6 days ago in a psychiatric facility with my hands and legs strapped to a bed. 6 entire days erased from my memory. And my son, my only child, the boy I raised alone, stood beside the doctor telling them I'd lost my mind. My name is William Thornton, Bill to my friends. I'm 71 years old, a retired electrical engineer from Boston. I've got all my faculties, a sharp mind. I can recall circuit diagrams from 30 years ago. If you're watching this, I need you to do something for me. I need you to comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Because what happened to me is happening to elderly people all across this country, and somebody needs to sound the alarm. Hit that like button if you think elder abuse matters. This is my story, and I'm telling it now because I almost didn't survive to tell it at all. Subscribe to this channel because the algorithm needs to push this story to every family with aging parents.
The last thing I clearly remember was Tuesday morning. I made scrambled eggs and toast, read the Boston Globe, finished the crossword in 12 minutes, pretty good for a Tuesday. Tuesday's puzzle is always harder. Then I woke up here, restrained, drugged, with a doctor telling me I had advanced dementia, and my son David, tears in his eyes, nodding in agreement. But here's what nobody knew. Between his visits, my mind would clear, and I'd remember terrible things. This is the story of how my son tried to destroy me for money, how he drugged me into dementia, how he forged my signature to save himself from federal charges, and how I had to escape from a prison I didn't even know I was in. I remember the exact moment I woke up in that place, the Meadowbrook Psychiatric Facility, though I didn't know that's what it was called yet. All I knew was that the ceiling was the wrong color. My bedroom ceiling at home was cream with a water stain in the corner that looked like Abraham Lincoln's profile. I'd stared at it every morning for 15 years. This ceiling was white, institutional white, fluorescent lights humming overhead like angry insects. I tried to sit up. That's when I felt them, the restraints. Leather straps across my wrists, my ankles, another across my chest. The panic hit me like ice water in my veins. I'm a veteran. Career 1952. I know what it feels like to be trapped. And this was exactly that. Help, I shouted. My voice came out raspy, like I hadn't used it in days. Somebody help me. A nurse appeared within seconds. Young woman, couldn't have been more than 30, with kind eyes but a practiced, professional smile. The kind of smile you give to people you don't actually see as people anymore. Mr. Thornton, you need to calm down, she said, her voice steady and clinical. You're safe here. You're at Meadowbrook. Do you remember how you got here? I didn't. That was the terrifying part. The last thing I remembered clearly was Tuesday morning. I'd made myself scrambled eggs and toast, extra butter the way I like it. I'd read the Boston Globe cover to cover. I'd done the crossword puzzle in 12 minutes, which was pretty good for a Tuesday. Tuesday's puzzle is always harder than Monday's but easier than Wednesday's. What day is it? I asked, my throat tight. It's Monday, Mr. Thornton. You were brought here last Tuesday evening, 6 days ago. 6 days, gone. Just erased from my life like someone had taken an eraser to my memory. 6 entire days I couldn't account for, couldn't remember, couldn't get back. Where's my son? I managed. Where's David? He's been here every day, she said, and something in her tone made my skin crawl. It was admiration. She admired him. Such a devoted son. He'll be back this afternoon for visiting hours. I'm sure he'll be relieved to see you awake and talking. If you're still watching, leave a comment right now and type, I'm listening. Bill. I need to know somebody out there is hearing this. Because what comes next is when I started to understand that the real nightmare wasn't waking up in that bed. It was realizing who put me there. The next 3 days followed an exact pattern, and I started recognizing it once I paid attention. Once I started fighting through the fog to hold onto my thoughts like a drowning man clutching driftwood. David would visit every afternoon at 2 o'clock sharp. He'd sit beside my bed, hold my hand with what looked like genuine tenderness, and tell the doctors about my deteriorating condition. He'd reminisce about things we'd supposedly done together that I had no memory of, doctor's appointments I'd missed, bills I'd forgotten to pay, conversations where I hadn't recognized him, had called him by his dead mother's name. Each time, I'd try to argue, try to tell them he was lying, that none of this was true, but I was so tired. The words wouldn't come out right, wouldn't form the way I needed them to. My thoughts felt like they were moving through molasses, and every time I got agitated, every time my voice rose above a whisper, they'd add something to my IV drip. Within minutes, the world would go soft and blurry around the edges, like looking through frosted glass. But then, like clockwork, about 2 hours after David left each day, something would change. The fog would thin, my mind would sharpen. I'd look down at my hands strapped to this bed, and think with perfect clarity, I don't belong here. This is wrong. This is very, very wrong. It was on the 4th day that I figured out the coffee. The nurse, her name was Rachel, I'd learned brought me a cup every day around 3 o'clock, about an hour after David's visits ended. To help you relax, she'd say. The same phrase every single time, like she was reading from a script. And every time I drank it, within 30 minutes my brain would turn to soup. My thoughts would scatter like startled birds. I couldn't hold on to a single coherent idea. That 4th day, I pretended to drink it, held the cup to my lips, tipped it back, but kept my throat closed. When Rachel turned to check my vitals on the monitor, I spit it into the sheets beside me, turned my body slightly to hide the wet spot spreading across the white cotton. And I waited. The fog didn't come. For the first time since I'd woken up in this place, my mind stayed clear through the evening and into the night. And that's when I started to piece it together, the timeline, the coffee, David's visits, the way I could think straight only when he wasn't around, only when I hadn't drunk whatever they were giving me. I was being drugged, systematically, deliberately. The question that kept me awake that entire night was simple and terrible. Why? And more importantly, by whom? If this story is making you angry, if you're thinking about your own parents or grandparents right now, I need you to share this video. Hit that like button, because what I discovered next changed everything. And every person who engages with this video helps push it to families who need to see it. That night, a different nurse came for the evening shift. Older woman, maybe 60, with steel grey hair pulled back in a tight bun, and eyes that had seen too much to be fooled by anything. Her name tag said Margaret Flynn, RN. She came to check my vitals around 10 o'clock, and something about her was different from all the others. She actually looked at me, not through me, not past me like I was a problem to be managed, at me. You're looking more alert tonight, she said quietly, her fingers on my wrist checking my pulse. I didn't drink the coffee, I whispered. Her hand paused on my wrist where she was taking my pulse, just for a second, barely noticeable. But I caught it. Smart man, she said, so softly I almost didn't hear it. She finished checking my vitals, made notes on her chart with careful precision, and left without another word. But I saw it, the smallest nod as she walked out the door. An acknowledgement. She knew something. And more importantly, she knew that I knew something. The next morning, they brought me breakfast on a plastic tray. Oatmeal that looked like paste, dry toast, orange juice in a tiny cup, and coffee in a white ceramic mug. I ate the food but left the coffee untouched, pushed it to the far edge of the tray, claimed I was too full when the day nurse asked about it. She looked annoyed but didn't push the issue, just made a note on her clipboard and left. When David arrived at 2 o'clock that afternoon, I was more alert than I'd been since waking up in this godforsaken place. Alert enough to really study him, to watch the performance unfold like I was seeing it for the first time. "Hey Dad," he said, pulling the chair close to my bed, his face arranged in an expression of loving concern. "How are you feeling today? You look better, more like yourself." Confused, I said honestly, keeping my voice steady. "David, I need you to tell me the truth. What exactly happened? How did I end up here?" He sighed, a deep, weary sound. like he'd explained this 1,000 times, and it pained him to do it again. "Dad, we've been over this. You called me last Tuesday night, completely incoherent. You said people were following you, that the government was monitoring your phone calls. You were standing in the middle of Commonwealth Avenue in your pajamas when the police found you at 3 in the morning." "I don't remember any of that," I said, watching his face carefully. "I know," he said, his voice so gentle it made my skin crawl. "That's the disease, Dad. Dementia steals your memories. It makes you do things you'd never normally do, but I'm here. I'm taking care of everything. You don't have to worry about a thing." "What do you mean? Everything?" "Your bills, your accounts, the house, everything." He leaned forward, squeezed my hand. "I've got power of attorney now, so you don't have to stress about any of it. I'm handling all of it for you." Power of attorney. The words landed like a physical blow to my chest, knocked the air from my lungs. "When did I give you power of attorney?" 3 months ago, Dad. We went to the lawyer together. Michael Brennan's office downtown. You don't remember? I didn't, but I also didn't believe him. Not for 1 second. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Are you understanding how easy it is for someone to steal your entire life while everyone around you applauds them for being such a devoted son? If you're still with me, comment, "I see it right now," because what happened next is when everything came into focus. It was Margaret who saved my life. 2 nights later, she appeared at my bedside at 2 in the morning, dressed in street clothes instead of scrubs. Her face set with the kind of determination I hadn't seen in anyone since my commanding officer in Korea. "We're leaving," she whispered. "Right now. Can you walk?" My heart hammered against my ribs. "What's happening?" "No time. I'll explain in the car. Can you walk or not?" I nodded. She unbuckled my restraints with practiced efficiency, handed me a bundle of clothes, jeans, a sweater, shoes that weren't mine but were close enough to my size. My hands shook as I dressed. How long had it been since I'd worn real clothes? A week? It felt like a lifetime. We moved through the darkened hallways like ghosts. She knew every camera blind spot, every staff rotation, every squeaky floorboard to avoid. At the service entrance, a young security guard stood by the door. He looked at Margaret, looked at me, and turned away without a word. The night air hit my face like a baptism. September in Boston, cool and clean. I breathed it in, tasted freedom for the first time in 6 days. In Margaret's Honda Civic, driving through empty streets, she finally spoke. "Your son admitted you under false pretenses. Forged medical documents, paid doctor. Carmichael $20,000 to diagnose you with advanced dementia and keep you sedated. They've been giving you lorazepam 3 times a day, enough to create the exact symptoms they claimed you had." The words came at me too fast. Why? Why would David do this? Because he's under federal investigation for Medicare fraud. He needed a scapegoat, and you were it. He forged your signature on documents that make you his business partner, his co-conspirator. If anyone investigates, they find a demented old man who can't defend himself, can't even remember his own name. My son, my boy. The kid I'd raised alone after his mother died of cancer when he was 8. The teenager I'd worked double shifts to put through college. The man I'd been so proud of. "There's more," Margaret said, her voice tight. "Before they started the heavy medication, you had a moment of clarity. You wrote yourself a note, hid it in your clothes. You told the intake nurse you needed to document something, that you'd forget otherwise. Do you remember?" I didn't. But my hands moved to my pockets instinctively. Found nothing. The note said there's evidence in a lockbox. First National Bank. Account number 4782. Your mother's maiden name is the password. She glanced at me. "Does that mean anything to you?" It did. Suddenly, like a dam breaking. It did. 3 weeks ago, no, it must have been longer now. Almost a month, David had come to my house with papers. Said he needed a co-signer for a business loan, that it was just a formality. I'd signed them because I trusted him, but something had felt wrong. I couldn't sleep that night. I'd gotten up at 2 in the morning, gone through my filing cabinet, made copies of everything, set up a voice recorder in my kitchen, started recording every conversation. "The recordings," I whispered. "I recorded everything. Margaret nodded. Then we get them. My lawyer's meeting us at the bank when it opens at 9. Her name's Patricia Chen. She specializes in elder abuse cases. But Bill, we have maybe 6 hours before they realize you're gone. Maybe less. Your son has friends in the police department, friends in the legal system. We have to move fast. We spent those hours in Patricia Chen's office in Chinatown. She was already there when we arrived at 3:30 in the morning, brewing coffee, reviewing documents Margaret had photographed from my medical files. She was maybe 50, wearing a sharp suit despite the hour, with eyes that missed nothing. When the bank opened at 9, we were the first ones through the door. The lockbox was small, metal, anonymous. Inside, a digital voice recorder, a flash drive, a folder of documents, and a letter I'd written to myself in handwriting that shook with fear or rage or both. I played the first recording. David's voice came through clear as day. "Dad, just sign here. It's routine paperwork for the Medicare billing system. You trust me, don't you?" Then my voice, uncertain. "But David, I don't understand what this contract is actually for." His voice, impatient now, with an edge I'd never heard before. "Dad, I've been doing this for 20 years. This is literally my job. Do you trust me or not?" There were hours of recordings. David manipulating me, wearing down my resistance, getting angrier each time I questioned him. And then, on the final recording, dated 3 weeks before I woke up in that facility, the sound of David on his phone with someone. No, he's not going to be a problem much longer. I'll have him declared incompetent by the end of the month. Once I've got full power of attorney and he's locked up somewhere, I can clean up this whole mess. The old man won't remember any of it anyway. Dementia's a beautiful thing when you need it to be. Patricia Chen's face was stone. "This is enough. We're going to the police, and then we're going to the FBI. Medicare fraud is federal." The trial was 4 months later. I had to sit in that witness box and watch my son sit at the defense table in his expensive suit, his lawyer whispering strategies in his ear. I had to watch him maintain that mask of the devoted son right up until the moment the guilty verdicts came down. 14 counts: wire fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy, false imprisonment, forgery. When the judge read the sentence, 23 years in federal prison, David finally broke. He stood up, his lawyer trying to pull him back down, and he pointed at me across that courtroom with pure hatred twisting his face. "You were supposed to just fade away," he shouted. "That's all you had to do, just fade away and let me fix this. But you couldn't even do that right. You stubborn old bastard." They dragged him out, and I sat there in the silence that followed, feeling nothing close to victory. Just a hollow ache where my son used to be. Because here's the truth about justice. Sometimes it tastes like ashes in your mouth. Sometimes you get everything you wanted: freedom, vindication, proof, and it still breaks your heart into pieces you'll never put back together. If you've watched this far, if you've stayed with me through this whole nightmare, please share this video. Your parents, your grandparents, they need to see this. They need to know the warning signs. Comment, "I'll protect them," if you're committed to checking on the elderly people in your life. Subscribe, because this channel is going to keep telling these stories until the system changes. It's been 6 months since the trial ended. 6 months since I watched them take my son away in handcuffs, since I heard him scream that I should have just faded away. 6 months of waking up in my own bed, in my own house, with no restraints on my wrists and no fog clouding my mind. I'm back home now. Most of the money was recovered. The $340,000 David had systematically drained from my accounts while I was locked away. The house he'd already listed for sale is mine again. The life he tried to erase has been restored, at least on paper. Margaret still checks on me twice a week. We have coffee, real coffee, the kind that doesn't make you forget your own name. Patricia Chen has become more than my lawyer. She's become a friend. Through her practice, I've met other survivors of elder abuse. We gather once a month in a church basement in Dorchester. We share our stories. We help each other heal. But I want to be very clear about why I'm telling you this story today, why I'm sitting here at 71 years old, recording this for strangers on the internet. This isn't just about one bad son. This isn't about me getting revenge or even about justice. though justice matters. This is about a system that makes elder abuse terrifyingly easy, about how quickly a person can lose their autonomy, their freedom, their very identity, when someone with the right credentials and the right paperwork decides you're incompetent. About how the people we trust most can become our greatest threats. If you're watching this and you're elderly, or you care for someone who is, I need you to hear this. Set up safeguards now, not later, now. Multiple people with oversight over your finances, people who don't know each other, who can't collude. Passwords and security measures that can't be overridden by a single family member claiming you've lost your mind. Regular check-ins with people outside your immediate family, a trusted friend, a neighbor, someone at your church or synagogue or community center. Document everything. Keep copies of important papers in multiple locations. And if something feels wrong, trust that instinct. Your mind knows when something's off, even if everyone around you is telling you you're confused. I was 71 years old, sharp as I've ever been, and within 6 days my own son had nearly convinced the world I had advanced dementia. 6 days. That's all it took. To the families watching this, the adult children, the caregivers, check on your elderly relatives. Not just a phone call on Sunday. Really check on them. Visit unannounced. Look at their medications. Do you know what they're taking and why? Ask to see their bank statements. Notice if one family member has suddenly become overly involved in their care. If they're isolating your parent or grandparent from other relatives. If they're making decisions without consulting anyone else. Question things that seem too convenient. My son was the perfect devoted caregiver right up until the moment his mask shattered in that courtroom. And to the healthcare workers, the nurses, the social workers, the doctors, be like Margaret, pay attention. Trust your instincts when something doesn't add up in a patient's chart. One observant nurse with the courage to act saved my life. You could save someone else's. I raised my son alone after his mother died. I worked double shifts at the power plant so he could go to college, so he could have opportunities I never had. I taught him to throw a baseball, to change a tire, to stand up for what's right. I was so proud of the man I thought he'd become. And somewhere along the way, without me seeing it, he learned that money mattered more than integrity, that his own convenience mattered more than his father's freedom, that an old man's life was an acceptable price to pay for covering up his crimes. I don't have answers for where I went wrong. I don't know if I could have done anything differently, taught him something I missed. I carry that question every day, and I suspect I'll carry it until the day I die. But here's what I do know. The miracle wasn't Margaret finding me, or the recordings I'd hidden, or the lawyer who fought for me. The miracle was believing. Even in my darkest moments strapped to that bed with my mind full of pharmaceutical fog, that I deserved better, that I deserved freedom, that I deserved the truth. If you're in a situation like mine, if someone is trying to convince you that you're losing your mind, if you're being isolated or controlled, or medicated into submission, you deserve better. You deserve freedom. You deserve the truth. And there is a way out. I want you to share this video. Post it on Facebook. Send it to your family group chat. Email it to your book club or your bowling league or your church group. Use these hashtags. #elder abuse, #protect our elders, #Bill's story. Leave a comment telling me you watched all the way through. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me if this resonated with you. Tell me if you're going to check on someone after seeing this. Hit that subscribe button. Every subscription helps YouTube push this message to more families who need to see it. Because this is happening everywhere, in every city, in every state. And the only way we stop it is by talking about it, by shining light on it, by refusing to let it stay hidden in the shadows. My name is William Thornton. Bill to my friends. I'm 71 years old, a retired electrical engineer from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm a father, though that word tastes different in my mouth now than it used to. I'm a survivor of elder abuse at the hands of my own son. And I'm telling this story so that nobody else has to live through what I lived through. So that no other parent has to sit in a courtroom and watch their child choose money over love. So that no other elderly person has to wake up strapped to a bed, wondering if they've lost their mind, or if someone is stealing it from them. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring enough to spend 23 minutes of your life hearing an old man's nightmare. Thank you for being the kind of person who might now save someone else. Stay vigilant, stay safe, check on your people, trust your instincts, and never, ever stop fighting for your right to exist with dignity, with autonomy, with the freedom that every human being deserves. Until next time, and I hope there won't need to be a next time, I hope this story reaches enough people that we start changing things. But if you need me, I'll be here. Thank you, and God bless.